I don't know. We have no idea. I can see it as the board just discussed.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Kathy, how are you?
I'm well. Cold and well.
Yeah. It was not too cold last night. You know how they had said that it was supposed to be freezing on Monday and Tuesday, and it was actually warmer than normal.
Yeah.
I didn't even build a fire last night.
I lobbied for one and didn't get it.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
I'd wait for you to tell me you're ready. It's 8:35. We'll start the meeting. Where's my...
Okay.
Thank you.
You have the minutes?
Is this the agenda?
Call to order, roll call. Roll call, we have Diane, Kathy, myself, Brian, Stephanie Lee, and it looks like Peter Andrews.
I have something to say out loud.
Yeah, go ahead.
That, welcome, Peter, but it would be a violation of the Brown Act if you spoke during this meeting, because we have a quorum of 3 directors in the room. So I want everyone to be aware that there are 3 directors sitting in this room right now. So, would you acknowledge, Peter, that you heard me, please? Peter? Peter? Well, did everybody else hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, we need approval of minutes from October 16th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of October 16th.
A motion made. Is there a second?
You can second.
I know I can't.
Brian can do it.
Actually, I can't do it, because I'm not.
Oh.
Okay, then I'll second it, being as I was the only one here. Okay, any comment or conversation? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Public comment, items not on the agenda limited to 3 minutes. Matters requiring discussion or action by Facilities Committee will be placed on the agenda for the next regular meeting. Any public comment? Okay, reports and information.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I would like to ask and see if maybe this needs to be agendized for the next meeting. Are we going to do a follow-up or a closure with Tripp and the concession this year? I have no idea, like, what the profit and loss was for that, or if Tripp was happy, or...
Oh, I can get you that. Yeah, we
I would like to
probably lost
discuss-
a little bit of money.
Yeah.
I agree. I think we should have him come in and talk to us.
I think that, so we can
Sure.
find, you know, considering that we put in a little bit of money to start the concession this year, to find out what worked and what didn't work, so...
Yeah, I'd like to see the pros and cons. Okay, I'll get
So we'll go
hold
with
of him
that?
and see if I can get him to
Okay.
come to a meeting.
Great.
Okay.
So it'll be on next month's agenda?
Yeah, next 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is next month.
It's
you're right.
next month,
Yeah,
okay.
tomorrow. All right, any other reports and information? If not, new business beach permit for 2014 summer season. What discussion do we need?
Well, I guess the decision has to be made about spending, because we had allocated $5,000 for the beach permit. So, in other words, that with the praxis work, in other words, Noble Thomas, we won't have $5,000 to spend.
Well, we don't
need
that
double
yet.
talks. That was a one-time deal.
I thought there was...
Would you like me to do a little recap?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Just so we all remember, last spring, we had permits that were live to do the grading for the beach. That was for this last year. And we determined at that point that the permits would be expiring at the end of essentially last year. So it was from Fish and Game, Water Quality, Army Corps of Engineers, and the PRMD zoning divisions. So in the middle of last year, we were in the process of, Noble Thomas came out and documented the existing beach conditions, and they were in the process of putting together the application for the 5-year permit that we need. You know, that's what is the new way that the PRMD would like to see this processed. So ultimately, all those agencies need to be updated every 5 years with what the plan is. And the plan remains the same. It's what we've been doing for years, but you have to get the permits to do it. So anyway, Noble Thomas started down that process, and then it was clear that because we had a permit in hand, we didn't have to have them do the full application to all those agencies. but that there were minor revisions and that they would complete that work in the off-season when it wasn't such a crunch time, so it didn't have to be done before May of last year. So that said, I believe that the Budget Committee set aside $5,000 for Doble Thomas's time this year to complete those applications that we didn't do last year.
And last year, we spent $5,800 on Doble Thomas.
The original proposal was $10,000.
Okay.
That was approved. So since that time, as we know, there was a minor bit of cleanup on the beach associated with getting the parking lot ready this last spring. And so the beach conditions have changed minorly. So they need to come back out and redocument what the existing conditions are. And then their role in this was to essentially run with all the permit applications associated with those other agencies and the PRD. So we have not received a revised proposal from them, but I'm sure that it will exceed the $5,000 that they had originally proposed to do, because they have to come out and do more survey work to document what's there.
I thought once what they did was enough, and just a little rehash.
It isn't anywhere near as expensive as what was done, but it's the kind of thing that they'll have to do every year, where they come out and basically just document to the PRMD what the conditions are. So,
And the main reason is because they're concerned about the gravel buildup.
they're wanting to document the beach now that it's not being removed.
What we got out of all this is a longer bar down here.
Right.
And the same, I don't know if you noticed, the Villa Grand Beach has changed considerably, not as big, and a long bar down there also.
Right.
So we're all in the same.
So where that goes is that they are ready to get started if it's so deemed that that's what is to be done. We will need, if we're going to be on the beach next year, we will need permits from those various agencies, because they're all not live anymore now, because that was the end of that period. So we do have, in speaking with Kevin Doble from Doble Thomas, he mentioned that it would take probably 3 to 4 months at least to get all these permits if they're done kind of in the normal way. So he's thinking if we were to start now, we're going to be in pretty good shape by next May, which the agencies would be much happier about, and not have to do everything with their hair on fire. So if we want to proceed with that, the contract's already signed, and he basically stopped last year because we were able to make that other permit work. So in addition to that, we had time last year in processing that permit that was associated with doing the legwork that Kevin's going to do now. And there was an invoice that was submitted that was like $1,200 worth of our time that was associated with dealing with the PRMD and the various agencies, Fish and Game, put together a letter for the Army Corps, all that sort of thing. So that we agreed to roll into this fiscal year, just as a way to kind of help the district not have to pay fees at that time. So that is still out there. You know, that is an invoice that was submitted. Anyway, so that's where we are with that information. The big question, I think, is whether or not Doble Thomas wants to be given the rest of the go-ahead to proceed with the permit.
I would say sooner than later. Let's get started now, if it's going to be a 4-month process.
Well, the only problem is that we've allocated $5,000 for beach permitting, and we're up to at least $6,200.
We need the permits, so.
So I know, but is there some other way that we can cut the Doble Thomas costs? In other words, why do they have to be maybe involved in every aspect of this?
If they aren't, someone else will have to be.
Okay.
So that will be fees associated with that. And the upshot of it is that the various agencies would prefer to work with a civil engineer, quite frankly. So we have done it in the past, and it has been excruciatingly painful for us. So
we're not interested in it.
We're not particularly interested in doing it again, no.
Well, I guess what you have to look at is everything that we've budgeted and what we're not going to do.
Can this be taken up at the budget level to be able to?
I would think it would have to be if it's outside of what was the original description.
That's going to have to be bracket by bracket, see what can be taken from where, because unfortunately this is something that has to be done. We have to have a permit.
We knew this last year.
It's just going to take some real budgeting to find out where we get the money and where it's going to go and what we're not going to do.
I'm certainly a proponent of starting earlier rather than.
Well, I like now that we have all this information, now it should hit the budget committee immediately. Come back with some recommendation, go to the full board. We can get this taken care of. Okay. That sounds,
Okay.
I mean, it makes sense. We've got to do it. We have to have our permits. The good news is they're good for 5 years, aren't they?
Yeah.
So we only do this once every 5 years, so that's the other side of the coin. It's not like we're doing it.
Well, yeah, all I'm saying is, we've got a whole laundry list here of things,
Yeah,
and
well-
we have to decide what's need to have and what's
Well,
nice to have, because...
Well, the need to have,
Need to have.
the need to have is a permit to open the beach.
Right, so some of these things
Right.
we don't need to have. All
Yeah.
I'm saying is, we don't have room in our budget this year. This is a really tight year.
Yeah, well-
And we are so far behind our projections, we're behind 2012, that, I just can't stress that enough.
That's fine, but we still have to do this. Yeah, go ahead, Lee.
Yeah, just a question, and maybe Brian knows. Is there any estimate of how much, like, so it has to be annual reporting supervised by the engineer of how much gravel's taken out?
No gravel
No gravel.
will be taken.
Oh, okay, or regraded, or whatever.
No,
Nothing.
Okay, nothing.
Nothing.
So
Nothing
we're
past-
good for 5 years.
Right.
Just to let you know, Lee, nothing past the berms. Just the only grading is in the parking lot itself
Okay.
and around one bridge pier. We don't do anything on the beach anymore.
It's really just to move the silt out of the way.
Yeah.
Is what the...
That's all we're doing. Yeah. Okay, we're done with that. We'll go on to old business. Potential property transfer, River Boulevard. Any discussion on that?
Where we last left that was, we were going to contact Davis Demolition, who did the demolition of the portion of the old school building. We met with him yesterday. So he's hoping to have an estimate for us kind of by the end of the week. So we'll
So
certainly have something by the next meeting.
So it'll be back on the agenda. Okay. Friends of Monte Rio facilities use fees. We've got all the figures. Gene is working on that. Hopefully we'll have something. We'd want to definitely have something by the next board meeting. But we have another meeting before the board meeting. No, it's the day after.
No, it's the,
Okay.
We get for next, yeah.
Okay.
Next meeting, okay.
Yeah, next meeting. So from there we go to possible
I
dog.
have an update. I have an update. I had a very good meeting yesterday with Michelle McDonald about the use of the adjacent property to the amphitheater. And where we've left it is she is definitely interested at some point of wanting to help. Right now, her plate is too full. She's in the midst of this triangle beautification with that whole thing that's going on for the chamber. She cited another project that she's working on locally. She also, she wants to stay in the loop. She understands that we were going to probably move forward with all of this, and of course, we all know that we'll put the plan out there, but that it's going to require money, and money being raised by the people who'd like to have this happen. So eventually, probably, if it does get rolling, if she'll re-advise then what we're doing. But she doesn't see how the addition of that property is even going to really make much of a difference. So maybe, and for me, not having actually been out to the property and seeing exactly what we were talking about, I have to kind of trust that she knows it more than I do, the property, whatever. But she loved the idea. She's just not ready to get involved right now. She's got too much on her plate. So we can move forward, like we had discussed at the last meeting, about doing everything just based on the property that Rec and Park own, manages, and go from there, and then put it out back to the people who wanted the dog park and see where the funding can come from. But,
So just so I'm clear, so the idea is to basically not include that property
yes,
this time?
at this time. She asked if at some point later down the road, and this could be after it's already done and put together, if at that point if she wanted to join in, and would that be okay? And I said sure. So I don't know if we leave this, we probably still leave this on the agenda until we work up, or I can, what's our next step?
Money is the next step. What it's going to
Well,
cost.
why don't we can pull together a plan.
An estimate.
We will,
Just an estimate.
we'll donate our time to pull together a plan and essentially have a layout for a dog park and a fence and what would be involved with it, and we'll do some research associated with the permitting process as well.
Should we put that like on the December regular board meeting so we can so people understand that,
I think it might make sense to invite Chuck to come back
to facilities
and to have a further conversation. He also mentioned when he handed the petition in, or the list of people that were signing up to support the dog park. He said he could get more signatures, so I would go back to him and say get more signatures, because my memory was there were 30 something.
I think there is something like that.
Yeah. So unless, everybody's going to kick in
Yeah. 'cause-
X number of dollars, that's not enough
Well, we've
people.
been very clear that the district can't support putting this project together. We can, you do the property and help with all this part of it, but they have to
Yeah.
pay, someone else has to pay for it. So you.
Or at least share
Yeah,
expense
yeah,
on it,
exactly.
because the rec and park will be paying for the water if there's water
Right,
there.
right.
So
Right.
I think it would make sense, since Chuck was the one who initiated it, to have
Should
him
we-
involved in the conversation about what happens next.
Would we be ready in 2 weeks, or should we wait another 2? Do you think we could do it? No, not.
I don't know, what do you think?
2 weeks is fine.
Okay.
Okay, so on the agenda 2 weeks.
I'll invite Chuck to the meeting.
Okay. Next, Creekside Park Septic System Shared Facilities Memorial Fire Protection District update. I'll start it. There was an initial meeting last night where the members were sworn in. Then there's another meeting, I believe, Monday night.
6
Here,
o'clock.
6 o'clock.
We'll
To-
get the word out to you and post it.
Have any comments?
Well, I'm just really curious about the entity and the financial side of things.
Let's go at the next meeting.
That comes
We didn't
meeting.
talk about anything.
Yeah, we just
Okay,
swore
so
in.
you guys I've copied you on all of the
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's going to be
What the-
agendized
Yep.
Okay.
next.
Yeah, because it didn't occur to me, but you can't just walk down and open a bank
Yeah.
account. Yeah,
Oh, I
you
know, we're learning.
Okay.
So just a little bit of information, kind of on-the-ground information about that conversation as well, and it's somewhat in the next topic as well, but I'll bring it up in the septic system. So Steve and Kathy, you guys were quite interested in, and I think that was true from the folks in the fire district as well, interested in the idea of trying to get the pressurized sewer line in now for the future fire connection before the concrete apron goes in for the bus turnaround. So as you know, we've really been pushing on that to try and get that to happen, because the PRMD does not move in a quick fashion. So we've kind of pushed it up to the next level. We've got drawings submitted from Huffman's office, who's the design engineer for the septic system. And I think we talked about this last time, but there was a change order that came in that was associated with the fire district's connection. And so that ultimately was processed. Steve reviewed that information, and then ultimately that has all been approved and inspected. So it's currently in, and we're waiting for final approval from Huffman before they can backfill, but they're basically ready to go. So that is going to be a major cost savings for the future for doing that now, as opposed to having to do it later. So, and it was a little tricky because there's an existing culvert on site that we had to go under. So anyway, it worked out. So that was good. And I think it was timely based on your ability to review that, Steve. So.
Okay.
So Brian, can I ask, so that's between the two culverts?
Yeah, so actually where it goes now is what was originally proposed was that Huffman had thought that it made sense, and actually I just got did I not bring the drawings? I didn't. I'll show you the drawings. So Huffman had originally proposed to essentially bring the line out to the street, right from the tanks, and then go all the way along in front of the property, out down toward, past down to the firehouse on what would be the east side of the road. So in review of that, Carl Van Dyke, who's installing the septic system, was concerned about root systems associated with that big bay tree that's up near the top. So instead, the recommendation was essentially to run the line on the property, kind of parallel to the street, but let's say like 70 feet back from the street roughly, all the way along, and then it goes perpendicular to the culvert, the big plastic culvert that's there, under that culvert, and then pops out just south of the redwood grove that's right there. So ultimately, it's there's a pull box that's left there, so that they can just tie in the future.
So beyond that, would it be how many feet below grade, would you say?
Well, where it goes under the
Can you
culvert,
go back up?
yeah, it's up already. So when it goes by underneath the culvert, it's about 6 to 7 feet deep, and when it comes back out to the road where the connection is, it's more like a typical depth, which is like 3, which is kind of the standard for running of that system.
Okay. So, no more on that. We got to the last, which is the Creekside Park construction update.
You can.
I can start?
Take it, yeah.
Okay, so lots of things are happening on site currently. The regarding the landscaping, as of Monday, the sod went down on the inside of the skate park area, and today the hydro seeder is out there, so he's going to be basically hydro seeding the whole site. So it's going to go from what is now raw dirt to all green inside of a day. So the building is being pulled together as well in terms of the things that are outstanding. So the walls are all finished, the tiles all in on the walls and floors in the bathrooms and the kitchen. The plastic sheeting is in on all the walls. The kitchen equipment showed up yesterday. The counters are all on site and waiting to be installed. The electrician is, the temporary power pole has been eliminated and the power is now pulled into the building. And the electrician is basically hanging all of the light fixtures, so they're getting close to being, we're getting there in terms of being done with the building.
The tile is done.
I said that, the tile is done. So the next things are the plumber's going to have to come in and set all the plumbing fixtures, and so we're nearing having completion with the interior of the building. And the deck, as we have been talking about, has been a volunteer labor opportunity and is about 95% done and is definitely looking very good. The stuff that remains from the engineering contractor having to do with the remainder of the trail and all the bus turnaround has been a little bit of a holdup based on wanting to get the sewer line in for the fire district. So ultimately that, I think, is probably going to be backfilled either today or tomorrow. And if that's the case, then the general engineering contractor will come back in, do a few days of remaining work, that's fine grade kind of stuff out in the major part of the park, and then they'll work their way out toward the street. So the next thing that they'd be up to is putting in the asphalt driveway that goes from the bus turnaround down to the parking area. And then they'll prep the site for the concrete contractor who will come out and cast the bus turnaround slab. So I would think that that's probably within the next 2 weeks. And so what we're looking forward to is with the hydro seeding going in today and getting all the equipment off the site, we can finally file a notice of termination with the water board associated with the stormwater,
Great.
yeah, out there every month, so
Yes.
or every week actually. So that is good, and it looks like weather's cooperating in terms of getting all that stuff
Great.
pulled together. So we're
The end of next week's the next rain, they're saying. It was supposed to be this week too, and it didn't, so
Yeah.
who knows?
When's the painting?
End of
gonna
next
start?
week, it's barely a chance of.
Up to 40%, but it was supposed to be 60% this week too, so
Oh.
they change all the time.
Okay.
I don't see anything till the middle of the month.
Okay.
So to answer your question, Kathy, about when does painting start, that is, as you know, that was something that was pulled out of the overall contract.
Right.
And so ultimately, the painter has indicated to us that he can mobilize within a week of notification. And it's been our opinion that it makes most sense to wait until all the earth is moved and everything is kind of in place, so there's not a lot of dust and all that kind of stuff. So I think that that probably happens immediately after the concrete slab goes in.
SCT.
Yeah, so we were contacted by the folks at SCT, and as you'll recall, they were very generous to add $100,000 to the scope of work. They sent out a general request about what the nature of the lighting was on the site. And as you'll recall, we didn't do a tremendous amount of overall site lighting because the park is open from dawn to dusk. So the intent is not to encourage people to be out there, using the park at night. So that said, there is light on the face of the building, light around the deck, and security light kind of stuff. But there's not general site lighting. And SCT, their bus schedule is such that they certainly in the wintertime they're going to be there when it's dark. Their staff will be in, and because it's an overlay for them, they will be making use of the restrooms. So Brian Albee, who's the director for SCT, sent an email out wanting to know what the nature of the site lighting condition is between the building and the bus turnaround. And we did mention that there is a street light immediately across the street from there. So Stephen Schmitz, who's our lead contact we've been working with from the beginning, is coming out today to look at the site and just talk about, if they feel like they would like to see some additional lighting. So if that does come to pass, that is going to be an interesting conversation because it's definitely not anything that we have talked about. And, they have been very generous in terms of contributing, but it would be something that would need to be reviewed as an additional scope. So we'll let you know what comes of that.
One of the things about the painting also is that We had been talking about using that back surface down low as the graffiti wall, and there seems to be interest in that from the skaters that have been on the site.
They've already graffitied.
Well, yeah, not that part of the wall.
Why they did it.
Yeah, but
It doesn't mean it was the skaters that did it either, by
Yeah.
the way. I just wanted to say that. It could have been anybody.
yeah. So, but there is interest in doing that. So when we paint the building, just as a point of conversation, the question would be, do we not paint that section? Should we paint it? I think the painter's opinion was,
The painter recommended that it just be painted like the rest of the building because it would be the best surface to start with, because it would be a professionally applied base coat that they could then paint over. So does that have to be the color of the building? Probably not, but his recommendation was it's probably easiest for him to just paint the whole thing that way and then let them go on top of it. So
That's what I thought was going to happen all along.
okay.
So, and then I wasn't quite sure how, I thought word of mouth they would know it was a graffiti wall. I mean, we're not going to put a sign, are we?
I think
Well,
we-
I think you need to. Actually, you need to indicate that that is the
Part of our
proper
signage.
location. Yeah.
Well, I think it brings up another conversation, which is that we had talked about the possibility of treating that more like the way they treat the one in Sebastopol. So where that idea came from really was from the Sebastopol skate park, and the idea was to keep the graffiti off the skate park and on the contained area, and it has been fairly successful there. And I think what they do there is they have kind of a monthly, if it's not a competition, it's something where someone submits a design idea before they do it, and then the group generally chooses the one they like the best, and it's done. So I don't know if that's going to happen here, or what is going to go, or if it's going to be controlled and monitored. We haven't really talked about that. So.
But it could be something where, the skaters or someone come up with a person who could do the first graffiti.
Right.
And at least that would indicate that this is where it goes, and let them do it as a installation.
That's a great idea.
We have been approached by one of the folks that's been, in town that was interested in potentially doing a mural or something in the beginning.
Yeah.
It makes
So-
perfect sense. I mean, I think it's very proactive.
Well, my concern is, how do you why shouldn't there be some kind of demarcation somehow? If you paint it all one color, what makes them, they go 50 feet high on that wall, I mean, maybe, I can understand having a common undercoat, to protect the building, and maybe it should be of a different color.
Yeah,
like a
we have a
white.
trim color, so it could be that. It could be that it gets painted the
Looks
trim
like
color.
a graffiti wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Lee, that, that it needs to be clear what the limits of the scope are. So.
Okay.
Okay, so, we have some invoices.
We haven't, then we need to talk about the RFP.
Sure.
Okay. Did you have a chance to?
I have made so many calls that, it's tough. I've talked to Santa Rosa Community College, I've talked to Homeward Bound Marin, I've talked to Cam Marin, I've contacted Catalyst Kitchens, a few others. And, I still think that trying to get a program would be a really ideal model. And it's just like finding a way to not be the people who run the program.
Right.
That's the kicker. If we were going to run the program, it would be no problem. We couldn't obviously partner with like El Molino's Culinary because these kids are in school. It needs to be, I think that it would have to be like underrepresented, disenfranchised, like Homeward Bound. That's an excellent model.
That's in Marin?
Yeah. Yeah, they're actually at Hamilton. They've got quite an operation, and they've been doing this for a very long time. It's very successful. But, it would be a really good way to, cover ourselves. It would be very, very big news as far as press and, as far as giving in and getting back, and also with the ability to roll in the managed garden concept and everything. I think it's really worth pursuing. And like I say, on the other flip side of the coin, it would be, let's get a commercial realtor.
Right.
You know, I don't know, did you have any thoughts, more thoughts
Well,
on this? I'm looking like crazy. I know this one, also, you know, West Kent, where Katrina used to work. I know that they align themselves really closely with Timber Cove, and I don't know if anybody knows those people, but they do almost a lot of their hiring through West County. Hiring and training and whatnot as far as all of their restaurant type of staff. And I think if anybody knows anybody over there, it would be a great conversation to have with them about, you know, a program, a possible program, because they're in a position that they could run a program.
Well, in all of your research and your thoughts, do you feel that it's, what would be a time frame attached to starting a program like this? I mean, could it be up and running by the first of the year or springtime? I mean...
Oh, I would think so, yeah, definitely.
So it's actually a feasible
Well, I think what would be
opportunity.
really feasible about it is that we've got 7 days a week, and we don't necessarily have to be open 7
Right.
days a week. It would be such an advantage to them to have a venue for classroom study, say a couple days a week, training and study, and then actual real-world experience as far as the retail end and POS and service and everything on the 5 days, say, that they're open. But they virtually maybe even be in there 7 days a week,
Right,
if we could
right.
find the right alignment. I mean, I'm really hoping that this Catalyst Kitchen, I'd really like to get in touch with them because they've done some really amazing working models all over the country.
What are they called?
Catalyst Kitchens. I mean, they've done things in Europe, all over the U.S.
Can I see that one?
Sure.
And where are they out of? Catalyst Kitchen?
Oh, gosh. I've called so many I can't, off the top of my head, think, but...
I mean, in California or somewhere
Yeah.
else?
No, I don't believe that they are, but they have, you know,
Satellite offices?
yeah, I mean, I filled out a huge questionnaire as far as what are we looking for, what do we have, what would we like to see as an outcome. They have a lot of funding, too.
In 4 years, Catalyst Kitchens has served 50 organizations and helped launch 25 new food service job training programs.
Mhm.
That's encouraging.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that we don't have the expertise.
Right.
It would be really nice to align ourselves with someone who does.
Mhm.
And it's not like the cafe is not going to make money.
Right.
So,
But there's a lot of components involved too.
Oh, of course.
Like, you know, if we bring in a program like that, does the district buy all the food and, I mean, you know, that kind of stuff?
for
you
me,
know?
I mean, to me, it seems like if you took the net overhead and basically based your program off of maybe a 50-50 split of the net profit versus, you know, that way you'd be covered and you'd also be paying into the program, but you'd also be paying into the park. I mean, you know, a
That's an
net
interesting
profit after, you know, all of your overhead in a restaurant business is really like only 10%. But still, you'd be covered. And that's what we're in the business to do.
Well, I certainly think it's a good avenue to go down. What are your thoughts? Diane and I just talked a lot about it.
So if they were to set up a program, I assume they set up the supervisor essentially, or the person who is, you know, teaching the class, right?
Correct.
And purchasing is a big deal in terms of, you know, knowing what you're doing, and that's really part of their...
Correct.
So it's not something that the Rec and Park would do.
No.
No, I mean, that's really essential.
I mean, there
to know
would
what-
have to be
yeah.
program directors. There are people that are in the industry that know
Right.
what they're doing. The, you know, instructors as
Right.
far as the food, the instructors as far as just the
I just
business,
don't-
front of house, back of house kind of.
From just reading a couple of paragraphs in that, it almost sounds like it's a partnership, and there might be more financial responsibility on the district to help with some of their costs, although they would do it. That's what I meant by the paying, not actually us going out and buying the stuff, but
Right.
to throw the money at it, budget it in. But, well, I mean, we got to get somebody in there. I just
Well,
don't know.
who's Katrina with now?
Say, social
Advocates for Youth.
Oh, okay. So do they, I mean, is that youth, like high school or?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
it's actually.
So that wouldn't be an avenue for us to pursue or?
No, it would be,
I was going to
potentially.
say, she would probably have the know of who to talk to. If she knows enough organizations, she would be a good
Could you have a
person to talk to.
conversation with her?
Yep.
That would be great. I mean, just
She
kind of
would
throw out the
put
idea to
some
her
ideas.
and see what she might come up with.
Mhm.
But I mean, like I say, the program has been so successful in Marin. I can't even tell you. I mean, what good it has done for the community. It's just been, it's a really wonderful program.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk to Katrina.
And they actually have a great model because, they not only, they have catering, they have a cafe, I mean, they're doing the whole gamut, and they're getting people resumes and work experience and getting them, homeward bound. I mean, these are disenfranchised and underrepresented people.
I think I really like the idea of having some sort of program in here. I think it's a win-win for the district, it's a win-win for the community, and it's a win-win for the program. But, so is this an avenue we want to pursue a little bit more then?
I think so. I mean,
Okay.
the other example I was going to mention was Ceres in Sebastopol. And what they have a series of community gardens that they actually harvest, and the kids that work with them, go to the gardens, grow the food, harvest the food, and cook the food and deliver the food. I mean, it's a whole,
I've
setup.
heard of it.
And it's mainly for people with cancer or other diseases that can't get out of their house, so they're making nutritious foods. It's all about the nutrition for the specific type of illness the person has. So it's a bit, similar to what you're describing. It's a very holistic program, and they basically have to turn people away because there are so many people interested in doing it. So Ceres could be another potential to pursue.
Someone else to align with. Yeah, I mean, it's just finding the right CBO
Yeah.
to align with.
Right.
And I do think it's possible.
Sorry, did you have a comment, Lee?
Yeah, well, I just think that, looking at those types of programs are laudable in many ways, but I think the nuts and bolts bottom line is going to be, after having seen many a restaurant, boom and bust and fail and all that kind of thing, given the size that you have there, I think you're looking really at like a single operator operation. I mean, bear in mind, when you get a program like that, you need a program director, you need a this, a that, hierarchical structure, which they get to pay paid money. That's usually the way it works. And I don't know that the district
Well,
has
no,
those
Lee,
kinds of
our
resources.
point is aligning with the CBO that's looking for a venue to do this. We're not talking about, we're not hiring the
No,
program
okay, well, that's great.
We're not
As long-
hiring the staff.
Right.
As long, and the product, I mean.
No, we don't have the infrastructure.
inventory process. Okay, well, that's great, but I'm just saying, I just encourage going on parallel tracks, because that way, also look at the commercial realtor or whatever, or somebody to go out and promote that, see what you could do.
Which I have a couple of questions about, but thank you for bringing that up, because, what would be the expense to the district of getting a commercial realtor involved to try to find someone to fit that?
Well, no expense, it would be
I don't
the
think-
expense of when it's rented.
On the
So
lease
that's
is
something to
fine.
be
Yeah,
fine,
you can get a
part of the
percent
lease.
commission based on, annual lease, which wouldn't be payable until that comes about.
Got it,
So you're
okay.
not-
So basically, the district wouldn't be paying for it, it would come out of the money that the...
And then you'd want to get that person, whoever that operator would be, make sure that they have the financial backing to, perform during that year. So therefore, that payment is made to the realtor, and then payment to the district, so you're not out money, you know.
Is there a real estate company, Diane, that's interested in helping us, or?
I don't know a thing about commercial realty, so, I mean, it's basically asking around. I mean,
I know you've got, some people, and I didn't know if you
Yeah.
expressed
I can,
any
I mean,
interest.
I just want, I'll ask after, like I say, we made a decision. I mean, what do we want to pursue?
Should we
Either
look at
or both?
avenues, or?
I think both make sense.
Mhm. Okay.
So, and I'll talk to Katrina,
Mhm.
and I can do that before the next meeting, facilities meeting. Have we had anybody turn in a
Nope,
RFP?
nothing. No inquiries, no nothing.
After you go pursue, do you have bills to pay?
Okay.
This is,
That's not Creekside, that's district.
That's district accounts payable.
Okay, so Diane, if you wouldn't mind looking at the commercial part of it,
Mhm.
and then I'll work on the other stuff, and we'll just meet again, but we certainly need to get going. Thank you so much.
You know, a lot of it, though, I mean, like you say, as far as getting things up and running, a lot of the factors have to do with tenant improvement and whatnot, and, I mean, this is a turnkey situation, so getting it up and running, once a person's interested, should not be a huge issue.
Right. Oh, I agree. It's like you can just walk right in
Yeah.
and start making paninis.
Oh.
Okay.
When do they think they're going to have the kitchen installed?
Well, all the
This week?
equipment's on site.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of negotiating the counters and shelves and stuff. So I would think it's probably this week, would be my guess. This week, maybe next.
End of this week, beginning of next?
Somewhere in that range. Plumber's got to come in and plumb everything.
So maybe at the next meeting, we should meet there.
Oh, that'd be a great idea.
We can certainly go
see the
down.
layout, would be great.
Do you want to meet here and go over there, or just
Well, we could just have our normal meeting here.
And then-
here, and then
Yeah.
go?
Have that as the last
Yeah.
agenda item.
I'll just put it on the agenda as a site visit.
Perfect. I love our site visits.
So the next meeting is actually November 13th. I was just looking at
Steve, do you still have time to come down to the
When?
site around 10? Or not?
Yeah, I've got to go to a thing in Guerneville real quick, but yeah. What, is it going to be all day, or? just-
No, it's just the hydro seeder's there, and he's potentially wanting access to a little bit more water than is the normal, just out of the spigot kind of deal, so.
We'll go down there.
And I think he's supposed to be there at 10, so.
Okay.
Okay, so the Creekside.
So we have from Cars Construction, their invoice is $111,765.55. This month, it is going to be paid by, the CDC is paying $31,963.50. That basically brings us down to $713.57.
We knew this day would come.
I think we could still squeeze a little bit more out, but we're down to...
How many do we have?
So this is the CDC's invoice. So it's mainly those two pages. And because we're going to sign cars under the Open Space District, and their expense for this go-round is $39,643. And they, let's see, to date, we have spent 79% of that funding. Oops.
So you have one more to sign?
Yeah, a couple more. And then there's the cars invoice itself. So,
That's all of them.
yeah. So, So where we are with the budget, where we always come in at, is the balance to complete that CARS provides on this paperwork that you have there. We have $78,000 left of Sonoma County Transit, and we have $81,000 left of Open Space District. So the funding through the fire district, we're still juggling the amounts. I'm assuming when we have that meeting, we could have a clear conversation about how much money has been spent to date and how the fire district will help split those costs. So that number's still in flux. Credits that we are asking from CARS is going to specifically relate to Carlin Dyke. Has a number of credits that he's been kind of keeping as he's been moving along, even to the fact that actually the installation of the fire pressure line is actually shorter than what we had originally proposed by like 30 feet.
Something like that.
So there's going to be a cost savings of his original projection in terms of he's not building as far. So we're estimating, that we're going to see a roughly $20,000, $20,000 to $25,000 credit from him. As we've talked about, we are proposing to eliminate the sign portion from CARS fee, which takes out $14,600. We also got roughly a $4,000 credit from the hydro seeding guys because the landscape architect went back and changed the mix and simplified it, and so ultimately they don't have to stop, clean their machines, reinstall stuff, and so that saved us about $4,000. And then there's a site material category, which we want more clarification from CARS about what's remaining in that, and our feeling right now is that we may take that back, eliminate it from their scope, and have that done by volunteers. So all of those costs actually, we're still, like I said, we're always in flux, but it looks like we're getting close to, evening out. So that's good news.
It definitely is good news.
Okay, so let me make sure that everything got signed.
Yeah, I haven't done it yet.
Okay. And
So Steve, for the
wait.
November 11th meeting, we want the Friends of Monte Rio facilities use fee as an item?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
so we do have some change orders that I want to get
I know I
signed.
gotta take off, it's a problem.
Okay, well,
Can I look at it in a while?
what?
Okay, go ahead.
What do you want to do?
I'm asking you, what do you want to do?
I'd like to get them signed if I can.
Okay.
So that is... Okay, the lock upgrades.
Oh, yeah.
We had to do this because, you want to explain it?
Yes, in a nutshell, the
360.
door hardware that was supplied, there was a confusion associated with the type of lock that needed to be installed. And I know these are going to, one of the doors in particular is going to change because I think that the time lock scenario that you've got on this bathroom here was something that folks at SCT were also interested in. But because the bolt hardware had already been installed, that basically just left, so it's going to have to be changed out in the future. But the bathroom doors and the cafe doors, because they're behind security doors, didn't need bolt locks. So we specified just to have a push button lock with a key. And they provided a push button lock with a key, but the key is one of those style that's like you'd have for a bathroom door that has a little push button that's like a security. And so we rejected those because we need a key, a real legitimate key. So their comment was, well, we could have, if we had done that to begin with, it would have been about $50 more a lock. So that's what that upgrade is for.
So I'm confused. Okay, so the cafe has security doors. then there's a roll-up for the whole thing, right?
So actually, there's two, the roll-up and the security doors function in the same way,
Okay.
in that they are intended to be open all day. But at night, they close down the covered porch so that there's no access into the cafe door or the pickup window.
Okay.
So that all locks down, so that it's basically bolt locked. There's a set of doors just like that for the restroom vestibule.
See, that was-
So that
Okay.
the doors that are the restroom doors are actually, no one can ever get to them at night.
Okay, so the main door to the restroom vestibule is the one we could put a timer lock
I
on?
think. And then the
Okay.
doors that are into the restrooms are just like the normal door that would be here that's got a handle on both sides and a push button on the inside to lock it if you're in
Got it.
there, and a key on the outside.
Just if you get
This
to
is
that
a minor
point, I mean,
credit.
just to be frank with you,
$300.
the timer lock, the way that I did it was way less than letting them do it.
Yeah, that's why.
Their upcharge on that timer lock was huge,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
That-
no way.
Yeah, that's why we didn't include it in the scope of
Okay.
the contract, because they've got, it's the prevailing wage and everything else that's got to be.
Yeah, because, we currently have, I know we have one of the closers that we need over in the gym.
I think we're adjourned.
And like I say, I could order
Are we
that
adjourned?
timer
Yes,
lock.
we
I know how to program them.
Yeah, so we thought that would be something that the district could do.
That would be really great, because that was my biggest concern, was this restroom opening, closing bit
Peter?
is just costs us too much. We can't afford it.
Yeah, so I think hopefully it'll take care of itself, and the, having Sonoma County Transit there regularly is going to be good too, I think. So.
Right, exactly, because, by the time they're done with their routes, it's going to be, in fact, they'll have the codes to override.
Right.
And we're dawn to dusk, so
Right.
they're going to be there later than
And
it's long,
earlier.
Yeah.
so we can be sure no one's sleeping in the
Exactly,
vestibule.
Exactly.
Okay.
Steve's left, the
Wonderful.
meeting is adjourned.
Okay.
9:25.
Well, good. I was really worried about that. That makes me feel so relieved.
Yeah, no, I think that'll be fine.
Yay. Okay. Time to go turn on my space heater.